The following podcast is an enticing media production.
Where the Nell have you been? Join us for conversation about life, business, and everything in between. Welcome to What the Nell, where we've got stories to tell. Here's your host, Nell Tice.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of the What the Nell podcast with yours truly, Nell Tice. I am doing a follow-up episode today with someone who has not been on the podcast in a very long time, but happened to be my very first guest that wasn't Kenny, my husband. The first episode was so cringy. I was like laughing at myself. I sounded so uncomfortable. And I was like, oh, this is my first guest, not being Kenny. I was like, oh, no wonder this was so long ago. So we recorded together more than 2 years ago. And I am happy to bring back my friend of way more than 2 years, Jen Petrask. And she has been a nurse for over a decade. She is an ACSM certified personal trainer, an ACE fitness nutrition specialist, a oncology research specialist, correct me if I'm wrong, former fitness competitor, and she's now also the owner of Fortitude Training and Wellness. Jen, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be back. I can't believe that's wild that I was the first one besides Kenny. I feel special. I'm honored.
I didn't even, it is so crazy. So the title of that episode was The Wrong Side of 35.
God.
And I was
now you could be the wrong side of 40 or almost 40.
I know. It's so crazy. I can't, it's so wild to believe that this podcast has been going on for so long. But also, in the beginning of the episode, I mentioned that I was 37 when I recorded it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm turning 40 this year. Wow, what a difference time makes. And speaking of time, since then, you've added so much to your resume, and I want to make sure that everything that I mentioned was correct. But tell us what else you've been doing since then.
Well, you pretty much had it. You had it right. There's too many initials at the end of my name. That's the problem. It's just a giant word salad when you get to this point, and it is. I've been a nurse for 14 years, which I cannot believe that, because my attention span is that of a gnat. So to stay in something for this long, I'm impressed with myself. So I've been a nurse for 14 years. Did all sorts of stuff in the clinic. My whole background is oncology. So for those of you that didn't listen to the first episode, I think we probably touched on it then. But I've been wheeling and dealing in prostate and bladder cancer for the last 10 and a half years. It's been my gimmick. It's been what I've been doing. Obviously on the nursing side of it, not the actual medical oncology side. But came out of that, and now I'm doing research. I help with protocol development for lung cancer. And there may be something in the works with that down the pipeline too, thinking about maybe trying to switch gears again. So we'll see. That's my day job. So nice. I'm kind of like the Renaissance woman. I have a day job. It's not all fitness and fun stuff.
Yeah. But it definitely kind of wraps into, the fitness and the nutrition and the business and everything. So how did that kind of come to be?
And so I've been in and out of the gym since I was 18, and I'm pushing 40 now. So started off, kind of had no clue what I was doing, and it's kind of taught myself essentially. This was before the age of YouTube and all that other stuff. I shouldn't say before YouTube. That really ages us. But before all the the influencers and all that kind of stuff came out, you didn't have fitness instruction going on online
on Instagram.
So you had to teach yourself what to do, and you watched other people and you saw what was going on. But so in and out of the gym, taught myself. I started competing at 26.
Wow. And
dear friend of mine who is unfortunately no longer with us got me into my first show, and he's like, you should think about competing. He's like, you won't win, you won't make a fool of yourself. And I placed second. So Mike Brubaker.
That's awesome.
Placed second place. Didn't win, but placed second. And then was just kind of hooked on that for a few years. Just recently retired from competing back in 2018. That was my last show. And once I kind of did that last contest prep, I was like, you know what? I was like, I think I want to make something out of this. It's a fun hobby. So I went and I got certified through American College of Sports Medicine, which is kind of like, we consider it in the fitness world to be like the gold standard of certifications, which is why I wanted to do that one.
Nice.
If you're a research nerd or anything like that, you'll know like we have like white papers that come out, and they're like white paper recommendations, and it's, fitness, nutrition, health, anything that comes along as far as like governmental guidance to that nature, and that comes through the ACM. So it's very highly regarded throughout the medical world. That's why I wanted to do that one, because it just kind of adds to my background being a nursing. They just recently started offering a cancer exercise specialist with in conjunction with the American Cancer Society. So I just completed that a couple of months ago. That's my latest
congrats.
thing. Yeah, thank you. And that whole course focuses really on the different stages of cancer, different treatments, different surgeries, what patients are supposed to expect, and how, us as fitness professionals can better handle these type of clients. Because, it's good for them to be in the gym, or even not in the gym, in the home setting, just getting healthy. Because the more physically fit you are, and the more nutritionally sound you are going into all of your treatment, going into your surgery, you're going to have better recovery. And that's been proven over the years through numerous studies. And prehabilitation is kind of my jam. That's like my one thing in fitness that I truly do enjoy that. And I used to preach that with my bladder cancer patients all the time.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting, because most people, I mean, you always hear the word rehabilitation and prehabilitation. I mean, I guess that's what it is pre. So before you actually have to rehabilitate.
It's getting you in the best condition we possibly can to make sure that when you are done with treatment and going through treatment, that you're going to be able to bounce back and be pretty much exactly how you were, if not, plus or minus, some side effects that you may or may not have from all your treatment. But, the goal was always to get you back to as close to baseline as we can.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. So, I mean, what got you into that particular area? Did you have like a friend or a family member that had cancer, or how did that come to be?
So I actually went into nursing. My grandfather, here's the history of Jen and nursing. So my grandfather actually had colon cancer. He passed away from that back in '99. And wow. I don't know, something just kind of drew me to it. Like I enjoyed oncology. I really liked that. I was like 14, 15 at that point, and wanted to go to med school, but I am terrible at math, so that was not going to happen.
Oh, I hear you on
but
that.
I did get myself through nursing school. So I got through nursing school, and then, just loved all the oncology stuff in school, just really, really took off with that, and decided that that's, where I wanted to go with my nursing career. And then just started in the clinics, was doing like surgical pre-op and post-op with some of my bladder cancer docs. And between my fitness background and my medical background, it kind of just happened, to be honest, where I was able to like mush the two things together.
Okay.
And then we had formed our bladder cancer support group through Hershey, through Penn State Hershey Medical Center. And that took off into a whole thing too. And now it's like every March I'm the keynote, and they do talks on either nutrition, it's on fitness, it's on whatever the group wants me to babble on about for an hour. I just
do. That's amazing.
Yeah. So the next one of that's coming up. Here's a shameless plug. March 15th, Saturday, March 15th at the Med Center there, and it's
okay. All right, I can put that in the show notes so people can discover that.
Yes, and this year's topic is going to be cancer exercise and the whole certification, and just what we can offer people, going through those different stages, and what that whole certification process is about.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. So, okay, so you've spent all of this time in the medical field, in the industry, and you started competing when you were 26, I think you mentioned, and fitness and the whole thing. So wrap that all up into, you decided to start a business, and that business is very new, very fresh. I remember getting a text message on like a random Saturday morning in January from you, and you're like, "Hey, how do you file this LLC paperwork?" And I was like, "Huh?"
You're like, "Wait,
so how did all?
What?
Wait, what? So how did all of that come to be?
Well, so I mean, I had been training people kind of off and on, and it was never anything that was, super serious. Like I'm fortunate enough where I can keep my hobbies separate from my day job. And I think that's what makes it fun, to be honest, is that I don't have to, like, I'm not doing it all day long. So it is a nice switch that I can flip. By 4 o'clock, I get to go put on my trainer hat instead.
Yeah.
So I had like a handful of clients throughout the years, and then kind of fell out of it a little bit because it's like I went back to school and I was just doing things, and like I didn't have the time for it. And then when I was still competing, like, you really don't have the time for it unless you can be super organized and not have a full-time job, which obviously like I couldn't do that. So I went a couple of years without training anybody, and then I just decided that I was going to start picking people back up again. So I've got a great situation at my gym that I go to. Like Steve and I click real well. I just kind of, give him a cut of whatever, and I get to advertise. I get to do whatever. So I had maybe like 2 or 3 clients, like, a couple times a week. And I thought, you know what, maybe I should make this legitimate and kind of get like, like a name going and everything else. Cause it was just me doing it under myself. And I know that there's more opportunity out there once you, can utilize like a business structure and all of these things. And I'm not from a very business minded family. That's not what we did. Like, my dad's a welder. Like my mom, stayed at home. It's like, we don't have business people in my family.
Yeah.
So for me to figure all of this out, that's why I was like, what do I do with this paperwork?
Yeah.
I'm learning as I go. So it's very, very new. It's Fortitude Training and Wellness is the name of my little business that I've got going. And
your little business.
You can tell it's very new because there's only about 3 Instagram posts on the business account because I barely can keep up with my personal one, let alone the FTW one. So it's very new. But like I operate everything right out of E-Town Fitness right here in Elizabethtown, PA. And I'm offering online training also. Nell, you and Kenny can speak to that now, kind of.
Yes, we can.
You guys up with a program a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, no, I'm
even
super
for people
excited.
that aren't able to personally come in and do one-on-one, there's plenty of opportunity to do stuff with you through the computer too, and do like weekly check-ins and stuff, and tweak things as we go. So I thought that was important too, and that's kind of why I, made the business formal, was so that I can branch out to people that weren't just town folk.
Yeah. No, that's super smart because, and I think if COVID taught us anything, it taught us that, we need to have at least the ability to access some of the things that we access in person online. So it's an addition to, which doesn't hurt anybody, for additional business, of course. And we just started a program. Well, when I say we, may I say, Kenny has joined me for 2 full workouts.
Kenny get involved in this anyway, did you?
We had an anniversary recently, and we had a hard discussion about some boundaries that we have to set in our own lives and businesses, and things that, we have to kind of like set up some things, and time blocking and spending different and more time together is a real thing. And he's like, hey, can I join you in one of your workouts? And I was like, sure, if you want to. And, we have some of the equipment that we have. And, we have 2 kettlebells, like one's 20 pound, one's 15. So like he can use one or the other. Right. And so he joined me for a couple of them and he was really sore. And then he tried to join me for leg day, which was a mistake. I was like, and he's a typical guy thing, right? So it's like, oh, I could squat that, I could do that, blah blah blah. Well, here he can't hold the bar behind his back because he doesn't have that range of motion, so he can't do the squats.
We'll work on that.
Yeah, and that's something that I feel like he can gain over time, but he wanted to do this full-on workout from basically starting with nothing. I mean, he's very active in his day job, and we go for walks every day, so it's not like there's no activity. But leg day wasn't maybe the best idea, like 3rd workout. But I've been really enjoying the workout, and I didn't have to see Jen, for everybody listening, I didn't have to see Jen for her to put this together for me. I mean, obviously we see each other a lot, but it was something like where I say, okay, here's the equipment. I don't even think you saw our space where we work out in.
Was the basement just from having been down there, but it was basically like, tell me what you have, what you're working with, and we'll put something together for you, because not everyone has that ability or the extra money to be able to go join a gym. So if you have workout equipment at your house, I mean, you can get something, you can come up with something that will yield you some sort of result even if it's just like resistance bands and like, even body weight exercise to an extent. I mean, like eventually you graduate out of that, but to get going and to finally, to make sure that you're going to want to commit to something, that's a good way to start it.
Oh, totally. And I love that you utilize what people have. And so you put together this program for me, and I am absolutely loving it. I'm feeling stronger. And that's the important part, because you'll feel that before you feel anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as results go, and when you look in the mirror, people get so hung up on the fact that they want to look like an Instagram influencer, and that's going to happen in 2 weeks. 2 weeks till your summer body, and that's just not the way it is. And I think you have a very realistic approach and a very attainable way to achieve your goals. So tell me more about what you offer, like what sort of packages do you offer in the business, and who's your ideal client?
So, I mean, a lot of my clients right now have just been, and I say it nice, like just regular people. People like you and Kenny, and people that just want to, they either have never really been to a gym, but they want to start doing something. They just want to get healthier. I have a lot of clients that are older too. I think my nursing background has actually brought me several patients that have had like diabetes, or they've got, other endocrine issues. I have a client right now, and she's doing awesome, who just got done doing radiation therapy for breast cancer.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, and it was super early stage. She's doing great. She is an avid hiker by nature. Her and her husband go hiking constantly, like Appalachian trail hiking. So she's a little bit more than the average person that I've gotten as far as their like abilities
That's
go.
not easy.
No, it's not. And she's a rock star. She's doing great. Yeah, so I've gotten people with like, complex medical backgrounds. I've had people that are just like me and you that are like, I want to get in shape. I'm getting older. And for women, especially as we get into like our 40s and 50s, earlier, if you can start it, like weight training is essential. Like any of that weight bearing exercise, that's going to help you with osteoporosis. It's going to help you with your bone density. Anything that's going to suck that calcium out of your bones. Weight training is really helpful for that.
Yeah.
And again, it's another reason why I can kind of combine my two backgrounds of medicine and fitness, because I can tell you, like I feel like I can make recommendations more based on my own like legit scientific background. I mean, and you're going to find that information anywhere. I tell people, I'm like, do your research. Don't just listen to one talking head on an Instagram or anything. Look into what you want, and then we'll talk about stuff. Because it's not everyone is a one size fits all box. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, that's really very true. And too, when you are listening to these Instagram fitness influencers, they're usually roughly 20 years old, have no medical history, have, their perfect 20-year-old bodies are teaching you how to do these like combo moves that are going to get you in shape in 2 weeks. And, I'm realistic in the fact that I'm going to be 40 next month, and I'm not going to look like that, first of all. And secondly, it's going to take a lot longer for me to achieve results. And I already am not starting out with perfection like they are. And when I say perfection, I mean like our view of perfection in society.
Because they're not perfect either. And not to
No,
knock
and a lot
anybody,
of
'cause
them
I'm not.
are,
But even your Instagram influencers aren't perfect.
yeah,
But
that's true. And that's really important to remember.
it is, and especially for younger girls coming out, even younger guys, even like guys go through it too. Like what you see on the internet isn't always what it really is. But
Yeah.
that's why we're here though too. To help you to guide you and to put you into the right direction, and give you some sound advice and kind of get you on your way. The goal is always to be able to teach you enough to where you can eventually not need me. Unless you want to keep coming to me, then of course I will, gladly keep training people. But like if I have a client that it's like, what, like I've moved on and I'm doing good and they're still doing good, then I know I taught them right. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of a double-edged sword in that regard. I don't like giving people away, but sometimes they're doing well on their own, and it's and they graduate.
Well, your goal is to ultimately help people and solve an issue
Exactly.
or a challenge and get them to where they want to be. And if where they want to be is there, and that's why you keep the door open and keep people flowing in and throughout. But so what is one thing that people can do today to start a health and fitness journey? Just something small that can get them going, get them motivated.
Honestly, go for a walk. Like
Oh, I like
walking
that.
is like in my eyes, one of the number one things that you can do. It's super easy. You don't have to have crazy endurance for it. You're not running, a marathon here, but just getting out and getting some movement in, whether it's a walk on a bike, um, especially like if you're like me, like my day job has me working at this desk for 8 hours. If I don't get up
Yeah.
and move around, I go stir crazy. So just make sure that you're getting steps in. And those little bits of progress will just kind of morph into other things. And
Hmm.
another
Yeah.
thing to keep in mind too, especially for people that are just starting out, like don't set your bar too high right away. Like, so there are people that, and it's not all exercise, it's nutrition too. Nutrition plays a huge part in your results and what you're going to get. But, some people will be like, I want to cut out sugar, I want to cut out carbs, I want to do cardio 5 days a week, I'm going to weight train, and I'm going to do XYZ. Don't do all that at once because it's overwhelming, especially if you're not someone who's done this before. It can be overwhelming. And then once you have like one slip up, people tend to spiral out of it and then they just give up. So I always tell people like, one small change at a time and then gradually
Mm-hmm.
incorporate another change. And then once you've got that down, another change. It's 21 days before something becomes a habit. So once a month, add something in. Don't try to do too much in one shot. Don't bite up more than you can chew.
Oh, that's such good advice. Have you ever read the book Atomic Habits?
I have not, which is
Oh,
surprising
you
that I
should.
have it, but I have it.
I have it. You can borrow it. It's so good. You
Perfect.
probably would love it. No, that's such amazing advice. And so people listen up, take notes for sure. Yeah, that's incredible. And I mean, I think that as far as nutrition goes, I know it's hard to say because everybody has different nutritional needs and things like that. But, I've always heard that upping your protein, especially for women, is something that you need to do. And a lot of women are very, oh, I don't want to eat all this protein and lift weights. I'm just going to get bigger. And so what's something that people can start with to get their diets on track?
Honestly, I mean, you said there's a gnat here. It's like distracting. Sorry. Had to. I'm gonna put that thing here. Um, you're right. Like protein intake is huge. So even if it's just a couple get like a protein, a carb, and like a fat source with your meals. And I tell people, ideally, if you can get in like 3 meals and 2 snacks, and they don't have to be huge meals. And people think meal, they're like, oh, that's like a giant portion. No. Like for breakfast, you can do like egg whites and like a half an avocado and like some oatmeal, like something small. Or maybe like a snack is like pretzels and an apple. Like you can kind of get things going through the day that aren't going to send you into like over the loop, like gut wise. Like it's not going to make you feel crummy. And if you're really worried about, like overdoing it, if you go online, there are plenty of like free online calculators that will tell you exactly how many calories you should eat, exactly how many grams of protein you should eat, fat, carbohydrates. So they break it down for you, based off of what your weight is now, what's your activity level? Like, are you sedentary all day? Do you sit around? Are you up in exercise? Like, what are you doing? How many calories are you burning? And there's formulas on the back end for that they're able to come up with numbers for you. So tracking is a good way to do it. Honestly, the little apps on your phone too are a better source of doing that because this way you don't have to think. You just plug in like where you're at right now. Like I weigh this much. This is my height. This is my goal, and it does it for you. And you can just pop in whatever you're eating and it's going to tell you like, yes or no, like you've gone over, you're under, you need to get more in. And it's a nice way to track it if that's something that, works for some people. It works for some and not for others. Some people can obsess over it too much and then it becomes a whole other issue. So
Oh, I go in spurts with using my Fitness Pal because I think that's a really like that's always worked for me was tracking like the fats, the carbohydrates, and the proteins. And so I get like I know I want protein to be 35% of what do they call that? Is that what macros are?
Yeah, those are they're
Okay, good.
so you'll have a percentage breakdown. What it'll do is it'll give you like your total number of calories like for the day. So say like 2,000 calories. Just use that. And then it'll be okay, like 35% of that 2,000 is your protein. So if you do the math on that, it tells you exactly how many grams. You can break it down, like how many grams per meal of protein you should get. So, I mean, it takes a little bit of, of computing there, but that stuff's not that hard to figure out.
No, it's definitely not. And that app does a great job at figuring that out. So this is amazing. I love everything that you're doing, and I'm super excited for the future. Speaking of the future, what's in store for Jen, Fortitude Training and Wellness? Give us all the details.
All the details. Well, I know so you had asked earlier, and I completely blew over it about like what the heck am I offering? So there's I've been doing like 8, 10, and 12-week package deals. You can do those. I have those. I offer them like for in person, and then also online. I think my online ones I think they go by month. I want to say it's like 6 month and 3 month, where you'll get like an entire write up of your programming. We'll check in with each other like once a week, see what's working, what's not. And then every 3 months or so, you would get like new programming based off of how you're doing and how your results are doing. With my in-person clients, same thing, only they're broken down by week. So it's again, I think like 8, 10, and 12 is what I have what I have laid out. And I meet up with them preferably twice a week. And then like the rest of the time, like, they'll do stuff on their own because that's important too. One workout a week, it's something, it's movement, but you're not going to see optimal results just doing one thing a week and then doing nothing the rest of the time. So you've got to be able to do some stuff on your own too, independently, which is huge. And sometimes people don't realize that. And it's not to knock anybody, but yeah, you have to be willing to do the work on your end also. We can only do so much.
So true. So true.
And then I do if I have a new client that emails me like, hey, I'm interested in this, like, okay. So I kind of send them all the stuff. Then I set up like a free consult with people. It's usually roughly a half an hour, 40 minutes, depending on, chit chat and what's going on. We'll go over like your health history, like any injuries, any surgeries, have what medications you're on. Cause sometimes medications will also kind of affect you in the gym, which is why I need to know what you're doing. Like blood pressure medications. Are you diabetic? Cause those are things that I need to watch out for as we're training to make sure that you're not, your blood sugar's not dropping. Nothing's going on with you cardiac wise. So it's important that your trainer, whether it's me, whether it's somebody else, that we know up front, like what's your past medical history. And same thing with surgeries. Like, have you had a rotator cuff issue? Like, do you have a fake knee? Like, what's your range of motion like? So there are certain things that some people are, mobility restricted on. And again, that's something that we need to know about, and we can work around that. It doesn't mean that you're not a candidate for a trainer or that you shouldn't be even in a gym. It's just that we have to tweak some things, and that's okay. It keeps me on my toes for one thing, but then it also keeps you mobile though too. And it just makes it's great. Good that you're in there and you're doing something.
Yeah, of course. That's the biggest thing. And just starting, that's sometimes the most difficult part of the process. So that's amazing. And you're training in person. Your in-person programs are at Elizabethtown Fitness Club. Is that correct? They
are. Elizabethtown Fitness Club right here in E-Town.
E-Town, Pennsylvania. For all
good
of
old
those who
E-Town.
are local. Good old E-Town. And then, of course, you're offering online programs as well. So how can people find you if they want to know more or sign up for an offer or just have a consultation? How can people find you?
So we have there's the Fortitude Training and Wellness Instagram, which again has about 4 posts on it right now, but it's getting there. And with your help, it's going to be awesome. So there is the Instagram. There is also my personal Instagram, at the Jennifer Lee. I'm sure somehow or other we'll figure out how to link all that stuff together. Or you can email me. It's jbpetrask@comcast.net. Just go ahead and drop me an email. Just introduce yourself. Say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Can we chat? And I will get back to you. Usually the same day. I'm usually able to, unless I've got a lot of work stuff going on or I'm traveling. But I like to get back to people at least within a day or two, and then kind of give you the lowdown on what's going on, and we'll get you situated from there.
That's amazing. I thank you so much for doing this today. I know I texted you at like 5 o'clock this morning, and I was like, hey,
this morning we decided to do that.
Do you want to do this? Do you want to do a podcast today? So thank you for being so flexible, first of all. And also thank you for doing this episode. And I'm excited to be working on getting some more content on that Instagram of yours.
And the website.
And there's a website coming. So get excited, people. There's going to be a lot of different ways that you can connect with Jen. So thank you so much for being on the episode. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you're listening to this on your favorite audio platform, you know what to do. Give us a like, subscribe, and leave us a review. That's how we grow here at the What the Nell podcast. And if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a side hustler, if you think that you would be a good fit as a guest on this podcast, hit the link in the show notes or description on YouTube below, fill out the form, and let's schedule a meet and greet to get you on the podcast. So thank you so much, everyone. And as always, I will catch you on the next one.
To learn more about how to tell your story, connect with Nell at enticingmedia.com. That's ENTICEING media.com. Thanks for listening to the What the Nell podcast.